Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Scottish Quilter. I'm Wendy, and it's Wendy's Wednesday. Glad you all can make it, and I really appreciate you coming on to watch. Very welcome to you all. All those who have been watching for the last few months, for the last few weeks, and if you've just turned on your iPad or phone and are watching YouTube tonight, then very welcome to my mad world, because half the time it is. It has been a very busy week. Well, I say that every week, don't I? Yeah, it's been a very busy week for this last week. How are you all? Are you all okay? Did you have a good Easter holiday weekend? Has anybody been their holidays? I've, to be honest, not really been off the farm much at all. My Easter weekend was very quiet. It was very quiet here. Neil and Megan are still lambing away. They're now going into week 4. They're both quite tired. They're both up and away early, so before it's dawn till after it's dark. We're a bit later on tonight because I was waiting on Neil coming in, because we've just had dinner and he will be in bed before I'm even off this phone. For another day to start again tomorrow. But isn't today a good day to be alive? It's a beautiful day. It's been beautiful days. Why have I losing my voice? Is that because I've not been talking much for a week? It's been a beautiful day for a few days. It was really hot on Monday, up to about 20 degrees. And in southwest Scotland, we don't always get that. We get a lot of rain. I remember Googling not that long ago, in Scotland, where gets the most rain. Now, we always knew it was the west coast, but I didn't really know where. But it's Argyllshire, and specifically Skye gets more rain than anywhere else in Scotland. And just out of interest, Skye gets 265 days of rain on average a year, and we certainly got over 200. But we're not as bad as Skye. But maybe that's why it's so beautiful up there. Anyway, it's beautiful here too, and it's a beautiful day to be alive. So, can you spot anything? Can you spot anything behind me? This is a belter of a quilt, and it is taken some amount of work to get it quilted. Wait till we see if I can bring you in. See, I'll mess up my tripod now. Now, this way, Wendy. This is about 2/3 of it. The other third is behind the pulley. The pulley is holding it up. It's a fine French linen fabric and a fine French linen pattern. Don't ask me what the pattern's called, because I can't remember, because this was done last year. Can you see okay? And it'd been lying waiting to be quilted for some time. So I made it my mission last week. I pulled it out about 10 days ago and saw that there was a wee corner quilted, and I thought, So I have spent 22 hours since last Wednesday quilting this. And why did I do that? Because I made every square different. I did zigzags and twirls and squares within squares within squares, and it was, see, trying to humph it round about and trying to move it and lift it. Yeah, it was quite big. Anyway, Lexi tonight has sat and trimmed all the threads off the front. We haven't quite tackled the back yet, while I was doing something while we were waiting and Neil coming in. So that's one job done, and we need to get on and get that done, and then I'm going to take it up the stairs and see what it's like in the bed. But Lexi says, is this a queen size? So in UK, queen size is bigger than king size. I've no idea what that actually means in anywhere else, but a UK king size is what we've usually got on top of the bed, but it's massive. I actually measured it the other day, and you do see these big quilts that are 90 inches by 80 inches and whatever else. And I thought, that I know they say it's a big quilt, but it can't be that big. Well, yeah, it is, because this one's 85 by 83. Why? I don't know. I don't know if it was meant to be square and it's gone off square, or I've gone off square. or whether it was meant to be rectangular, but that's the measurement it is, 85 by 83 inches. But it's done, and I'm delighted it's done. So after it finished, I thought to myself, yeah, and then when I was trimming it, wait to hear this, so when I was trimming it, I made, this is the backing fabric, and from the I had obviously left lots of it on the back before I quilted it. Well, I just left it and thought I'll trim this off at the end. Anyway, I did, and I made the whole binding, apart from this wee extra bit that I'll go in my box of all my other bindings. I made the whole binding out of what I cut off the quilt. So very little waste there. Then I had 4 squares left, and I thought, right, okay, what will I do with that? So I thought I could make a little cushion to go with it. So I have got that there, and then obviously there's a bit of work to do in that. I might put another wee border on it. I might even put a wee flange on it with the nice blue that I've got left. What there is a wee bit of blue left, which is that one there. Oh yeah, it's the binding one. Anyway, so I might do a flange and another wee border on there, and then I do still have blue, it's just uncut blue. So I will have plenty for backing. But then I was thinking, right, okay, you need to not add waste to your scrap bucket, because I've got a piled high big box of scraps that I've never gone through. I did start taking a couple off the top and do some 2.5-inch squares once, but I think that was about 2 or 3 years ago. Anyway, I've never looked at it since, and it's through in the corner of the sewing room, and I thought, no, I'm going to do something about it. So all the squares I had left, I just sewed them all together. They're all different sizes. This is all the wee bits I've got, and I thought, I'm going to do this, and then I'm not going to put them away like this, but I am going to cut them. So I thought, I'm going to put you down a bit. Hopefully this will work. Excuse the boobs. Right, so I'm going to, what did I do with my rulers? I went and get my rulers. What did I do with my rulers? Do you know, I actually left the room and went, oh, here I found them. They're right beside me. So I went away and got some rulers through. Now these are all square rulers, and I have got 5.5-inch squares, so I can obviously get much bigger than that. There is a 6-inch square. Didn't even know I had a 6-inch square. Here's a 6.5-inch square. Now that might work. What's this? 7.5. Would I get one out of that? No. So there's no point in doing lots of different squares, so I think I'll just do this in a 6.5-inch square. And then I'm going to put all these in a box, and I have also got some greys, and that's a sort of taupey browny grey. Anyway, I've got some of these. I'm going to do the same with them. I'll do the same with the pink ones. I'll do the same with the blue one, the purple ones. And what did we say, 6.5? So if I was to put that on there, I could save that bit there and add it to something else, couldn't I? And I could put it down here. And this was probably going to be, but I just rattled on today making more. But I thought if I put all these 6.5-inch squares away. Now this is where I should have brought through the rotating cutting mat. And this is another, that's a bad habit. Don't do that. Don't do what I do. It's very bad. You know, I remember when I was a midwife and you had students, and I really enjoyed having students. I really enjoyed having students that were keen to learn and wanted to work. I wasn't so keen on the students that weren't so keen to work. However, I got on really well with most of my students. I got on really well with. In fact, I can't think of anybody that I didn't. And many of them became friends. But the one thing I always used to say to them was, don't copy everything I do, look at me and pick out the good things that I do, and look at other midwives and pick out the good things that they do, and look at every midwife that you're working with, and don't do the bad things that they do, because everybody, when you've been there a while, cuts corners one way or another, although, or maybe don't practice the way they should. But I used to always say to the students to do the right thing and watch everybody for the good practice that they do, and then be that midwife that does it well. So you don't just need to be a midwife, you need to do that in everything in life, don't you? There's another one, and I think these are quite nice. So we'll see if that goes well. Now that's, well, I was going to say it's a bit like a bow hair short, but maybe I shouldn't say that, but anyway, it is. So I just need to add a bit onto that one before I trim it. We'll see what we've got here. Line this up and try and make it a bit squarer. Does anybody else do this? Does anybody else do something productive with the scraps? And see that doing it underneath my arm? That was bad practice too, because that could cause an accident. I should really, I've squared it back up, put some pressure on it, opened my blade, yeah, closed my blade. Right, so out of these wee bits there, I've got 3 very different squares. And if I just carry on like that, and I do that with everything I make this year, I'm going to do that with. How does that sound? And then all my scraps will be in, see that's sitting beside a sewing machine for a week really. All my scraps will become useful, and I might have all different colours, but obviously I'll put pastels with pastels and bright with bright and vice versa, but that's my plan, and that's the way I'm going to do it. And eventually I'm going to bring this box through once I've run out of scraps and once I've run out of quilts to do, because, oh, I meant to bring through all the whippets actually. I went through to the sewing room the other day. I have been tidying my sewing room. It's not quite finished yet, but I have made inroads. I've not quite got the Highland Cow cushions out the naughty corner yet, but they're coming, they're nearer the door, because I've spent so much time on that quilt. But while I was at that, I was also, like, if I've been sitting on the couch, if I was sore and went through and sat on the couch, or if I've been up early and waiting and it getting daylight to go and take the dogs a walk or whatever, I've just been sitting doing a wee bit of hand sewing. And one of the things I was doing with hand sewing was, again, some months ago, I started making English paper piecing for a Liberty roll, basically just a roll, a bit similar to the one I'd run up last week, similar but different, but prettier, bit harder, all that kind of thing. Anyway, Kate Jackson does these beautifully on The Last Homely House. I've got threads everywhere. So if you want to see how Kate Jackson does it, she's exceptionally does this very, very well. So you need to go on and look. And she loves Liberty, and she's got lots of Liberty. I don't have lots of Liberty because I bought wee scrap windows last year at Birmingham, and I had a wee drop. So I've still got a wee drop, but I managed to find some different blues. So I have sewn, these were English paper pieced, and I hand sewed all them together, and then I put them all together and I glue basted the back of these squares. It must be 2.5 inch squares, they kind of look that size. Anyway, I glue basted them all, so that was fairly easy to come away, to be fair. It wasn't hard. I just did it with a wee glue stick, and when I looked closely, you could see the thread on the front, and I thought, you're not meant to see the thread in the front. So I was sewing them all together when I had time watching the telly, and if you look really close, you can see the stitches. So then I thought to myself, okay, we need to try and cover that up a bit. Anyway, instead of putting, I thought it was too flimsy, just the 2 bits of material. There's actually 3 bits in here now, because I went away through and found the inside that I used for my Cantha quilt before, which is this. It's mega thin. You can see how thin that fabric is, and it's a paisley pattern one. I don't know where I got it. I don't know why it was even there. I've never really liked it, but I thought that's thin enough to put inside this. So I did do that. The backing is Liberty. You can actually see this through now. So I decided, because you can see the stitches, I thought, okay, what if I hand quilt over these stitches with quilting cotton, Aurifil quilting cotton, which is a nice blue, and I thought I'll do that. But what I wasn't taking into account, now this is, I'm telling you all this so that if you go and do this, don't make the same mistakes I made. So what I wasn't taking into account was how thin the Liberty is and how it's almost fragile. So when I was putting this quilt and cotton through it, this is too thick for the Liberty. But then I thought, well, am I supposed to take it apart, or am I not supposed to take it apart? Am I meant to use it the way it is? Anyway, I just used it the way it is, and I didn't quilt both ways. I quilted along the lines. And then I found out if I quilted in the ditch where all the stitches were that you could see, it was even harder to get through. So I then went just to the other side of the ditch. Anyway, it was difficult pulling the needle through, so I've done that much, and I've sewn up 3 sides by hand. I've just got this one side to sew on. I have this tie all pressed and pinned. There's probably too many pins in it. And what else have I got? Yes, I've got these nice Tilda buttons. So I thought that nice blue one down in the corner would be, any one of the blue ones would be ideal actually, but I quite like that one because it's more blue. So that's to be finished, but much further forward than it's been. So that's also done. That's these fabric squares. So then I thought to myself, the Tilda Songbird, I still hadn't finished off the strips that I was putting together, because what was the name of that quilt? A railway pattern, a railway. I'll get Lexi to write it on the screen here when I find out what it is. It's a Misty Dawn one, and she did this pattern a couple of months ago. You'll find it on Missouri Star Mondays, Missouri Star quilting YouTube channel on a Monday for Misty. I would just put Missouri Star Misty in and you'll find it. And it's railway something, I can't remember what it is. So with the Tilda strips that I had left, and she'll tell you the size of the pattern, she tells you on the video. And with the strips I had left, of all the different colours, I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to use what I've got. I'm not going to open up any more fat quarters, or I had got extra sort of background colours. And you were to make 2 strip sets, okay? So there's one, a long one. Now that was meant to be 20 1/4 inches. And the best I could get was 19 1/4 inches. And then this one was meant to be 9 1/4, which I could get easily, that was fine. But I just thought to myself, right, what am I going to do? If the best I can get is 19 1/4, just do them. So it turned out I just kept putting them together, and then I counted them and I had 26. So I had 26 at 19 1/4. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is not going to fit the pattern the way she's got it. And then I was doing the wee ones, and I just did every wee one that I had. I've predominantly got more blue than any other colour. There's limited green, but I wondered if that was because I'd done it more in the wall hanging, which is up there. Can you see the wall hanging? So that was the Tilda Songbird. So I thought, have I got, what am I going to do here? But then once I put them all together and got snowballed the ends, so just so you know, these are 2.5 inch wide strips, and That's 2.5-inch squares for the background fabric. So I thought, how am I going to make that pattern better? And I was actually making the mindset more complicated than what it actually was. So I thought, okay, you've got 26 big ones, you've got 29 wee ones, just put 2 big ones and 2 wee ones per strip, put them together and see what you've got when you've got left. So, easy, yeah? Anyway, once I did that, I then laid it all out, put them all together, just sewed them, and I did have a pile of the small ones and the large ones sitting on the table, but then I thought just sew them with according to what you've got, and I didn't lay them all out other than in piles, and then but once I did them all, I took them through to the living room and I laid them out on the floor because this table's not big enough. So once I laid them out on the floor, and Lady Mara stood back because she knew something was going on, but Lady being blind went to stand on it, and I was like, get back off, because they'd just been a walk. And anyway, she did back off and she lay down beside. How that dog knows things, I don't know. But anyway, this is it put together. Well, some of it. So I just put masking tape on them when they were on the floor, and then picked them up and then just started sewing. So I was sewing 2 to 1, 3 to 2, 4 to 3, 5 to 4, and so on. So with having 26, I have got 13 strip sets. So you're never going to see this, but then this gives you a gist of what it is. And I thought, this is a lovely pastel, going to be a lovely pastel quilt cover, isn't it? And 13, it will be long enough, I would think. So what would it be long enough? It would be 2 19s is 38, and 2, what were they, 10 or 9, 10, say 10, is 38, and another 2 10s is 20, is 58. So it's already 58 inches long. It'll be 13 times 4.5. What's that? 26, 52. 52 inches wide, or thereabouts, I think. So that's a decent size, isn't it? It's a decent size throw quilt, but I haven't put any borders on it. So I do still have a bit of background, so I can make a small border, and I've got sort of the shades of self-coloured shades still there, and so I could just bring it out a bit with borders, and I thought that would be quite nice. So that's that plan. What else have I been doing? So I've done the Liberty, I've put these squares together, I've got some cushions half done. Oh yeah, talking about cushions, so the 3 that I had left, that was the 3 I had left. I don't see how that's going to make a cushion, but it might make something. And what else was I doing? Oh yeah, my Sashiko. I really like this Sashiko. Another good thing to sit and do when you do sit down at night. So I went to the craft club last night and I took down all my templates. So anybody that's wanting to do this, it's not expensive and you can do it in any fabric you want. I got these template sets off of Amazon. I mean they could have been $7.99 UK sterling, $7.99 sterling, or $9.99 sterling, but they weren't dear. I already had a chalk pencil, I already had a load of denim. So I sat last night and my hand was actually getting sore, but because I've got a blue chalk pen, instead of doing it on here, and this is just all strips of denim that was in my Missouri Star denim fabric box that I'd got for Ingrid's embroidery kit, Ingrid's embroidery kit. So I thought if I do it on the back, and then all I need to do if I'm doing it on the back is sew the bits that are not coloured in. So if I sew the strips that are not coloured in, it comes out in the front of the pattern it should be, because it's on the back. Get me? So I did that. Wait till I see if I find a wee bit that I've done. This is all just bits. So I tried last night to put in a load of the templates. So I did that, and you can see where I've been sewing it on the back to make the front look like this. So that was all I did. And I've got this one completed from last week. This is a long-term project. This one I accidentally put in the front, but I do have blues, so I could cover that. And I think it's washable, but I'm always a bit wary of these things that say they're washable, so I don't like drawing on fabric. Another wee one that's kind of half done. But I've got all these bits of denim, and they're now stored in a nice wee place in this roll, and I'll just take them down to Craft Club, or I'll take them with me when we go to the National, or if we're going anywhere and I'm not driving, I could do it in the car or do it wherever, because you've got the whole lot inside here. Easy. Anyway, I'm looking forward to finishing off the Liberty roll. And I did think to myself, right, okay, let's hands up with the Liberty thing. It is lovely, and I do like making these rolls, but it is so footery, so time consuming, and clearly I'm not very good at it when you can see the stitches through that. So my next one, which I will do one again, maybe not with Liberty because it's so fine, but then that brings me to the Liberty and think, you know, you're going to have to do something with it, which I will, but it's just not on my plan right now. That was on my plan for a while. Anyway, it's done, but it's awfully thin to work with, and it's, yeah, you need to starch it, I think. Definitely need to starch it, but if it's English paper paste, you would think you would need to starch it afterwards. Oh, I don't know. It's easy to get the stuff. You could use any sort of material or fabric. I think another fabric wouldn't be quite so hard to work with, because that was hard to work with. I'll not be rushing to make another one, but I will finish it off soon and show you next week. But I'll not quite have the next week that I've had this week, because I really haven't been anywhere really. I don't even think I've gone shopping. I think I've gone to one shop on the way home from picking up one of my girls today. She was away for a couple of days. She's fine. My girls, as in my dog girl, not my human girls. They're all fine too. But there's a funny story to tell you. Does anybody ever watch or look at, is it Sheila Stanton on Facebook? What's her name? I'll need to see if you can find Sheila Stanton on Facebook, Lexi. Because I follow her on Facebook, you'll maybe find her. Anyway, this woman is hilarious. I think she's like a comedian. And I follow her on Facebook, and I was just reading this morning about how she talks about menopause, and she talks about our sex life and our diet and our size and all these sorts of things, and all the things that most women, I think she must be 50, with 2 grown-up girls and a lovely husband, and I mean, she's really quite happy, but she just says it as it is, and it's so funny. Well, this morning I was reading about how she went for a sauna, and she was away with her family for the day, and everybody was getting treated, and how she keeps talking about how bloated she gets and how she keeps farting. Well, I was reading all this, and she says, I was going into the sauna, and oh, thank God the sauna's empty, I'm going away in there. And anyway, I was laughing, and I'm thinking to myself, poor woman, that's a shame, getting a big bloated tummy and farting everywhere you go. Well, in our house we call it Scooge, because Steph, when she was wee, used to make up names, so we say Scooge, right? So today, oh, you honestly can't take me anywhere. So today I went to get Fern, and I passed the wee shop on the way home, and I thought, right, okay, I'll run in there and get potatoes. So I just grabbed my phone. Mara was in the car, Fern was in the back of the car, and I grabbed my phone, left them outside, and ran into the shop. They were just directly outside the shop, and the car was like 2 cars down, and there was a car outside the shop in front of me, with a big guy sitting in the passenger door with the door open, right? Walks into the shop, get served, get potatoes and a couple of packets of biscuits for the lammers, and went to pay it with my phone, and I'm handing them my phone, and she says, we can't take that here, I can only take your card or cash. And I was like, oh no bother, I'll just go and get it. So I went to walk out the door, and honest to God, this massive big scooch happened, and I thought, oh no, who heard that? And I thought, oh no matter, just go back to the car. And I never really thought any more about it. Anyway, goes back into the car. And then I gets my purse and I comes back into the shop. And there's two guys standing waiting to get served. So she serves one, and then I hands her a tenner. She hands me back the change. That was fine. And I went to walk out the shop and I did it again. So the two of them held it in the shop. And then the guy sitting outside, sitting in the passenger seat of his car, he's still there. And honest to God, as I took my steps, going out the door of this shop, fart, 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 fart. And I thought, holy moly, that's me. That's me, because I read that this morning. So anyway, if any of the rest of you can relate to that, I'm sure you will find that extremely funny. And there was one other, in fact, there was another couple of funny things happened. What else happened? Oh yeah. I meant to bring my flowers through and show you. So Easter Sunday, I've spent most of the weekend on my own because everybody's away, but don't get me wrong, I'm quite happy. Anyway, Danny and Megan, Danny was in before Neil and Megan were in for their dinner on Sunday night. Megan went upstairs for a shower. So Neil, Danny and I are sitting, but he came in with a big bunch of Marks and Spencer's, beautiful white roses and chrysanthemums, lovely, lovely flowers, and a carrier bag. I don't know what all he had in it, but a carrier bag, and you could see an Easter egg in it for Megan, right? So that was fine. So he'd given her them and they were there, and that was fine, but Neil hadn't really seen this, right? So I said, it was just me, Danny and Neil sitting at the kitchen table. Megan had went for a shower. And I said, see what Danny did today? Brought Megan a lovely bunch of flowers. And as quick as you like, he turned round to Danny and he said, what you done? And anyway, everybody burst out laughing. And I said, I thought you would maybe get me flowers. Now, where he would have got the flowers in the middle of a field, who knows? But anyway, I said, I thought you would maybe get me flowers for my Easter. And he said, you know, Wendy, you've got a garden out there full of tulips and daffodils and all these other things. Go and pick your own flowers if you want flowers. So I did. Anyway, I filled my vase up twice this week because the daffodils don't last 2 minutes in this house and they open up, but I meant to bring it through and show you, and I haven't done it yet, but it's very pretty. So I'll maybe put a picture on and you can see it before we go. And the other funny story to tell you, one of my friends FaceTimed me this afternoon when I was zoom through my sewing machine, and I have done a couple of sort of mending projects for her in the past, and which have been fairly simple and they've been okay, but I am not a seamstress at all. So she says to me, now you've got to picture, she's same age as me, so remember I'm staying 55, so 55, and because I'm just staying that way, I'm actually going to confuse myself because I'm not that, but I'll just tell everybody that. So anyway, she is 55, same as me ish, and she's blonde and she's slim and she's pretty and she's always well done up and she's thin, like she is 20 kilos lighter than me. So when she FaceTimed today, she's eating grapes and I'm eating a bag of licorice, all sorts. So we decided I was like a Teletubby, which is quite right, I am. But she was telling me about this nice white dress that she's got for wearing, and she took it away on holiday. But when it was a good dress she got, and she says it's fitted at the top, it's really quite nice, but then once underneath at the waist it just flares out and it just comes out, and she said, but you can see through the skirt. And she says it doesn't matter what colour of pants I put on, I can't go out and wear it because I'm just not that age anymore where I don't care, whereas I probably am, that I don't care. No, actually, when you picture that, no, that I couldn't do that either. Anyway, she said, so could you, and I was like, here, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do with this? And she says, it doesn't matter what white pants I put on, you can still see through it. And so could I sew a bit of material to the inside of this dress so that you can't see through the bottom half? And I'm thinking, I don't know if I can, because if I sew, as she says, or do I buy an underskirt? And I said, yeah, you could, but if she buys an underskirt and I sew an underskirt to the inside of a dress that's fitted at the top and then flares out, it means the underskirt's going to be stretched to the dress and just hang on her. So I said, right, okay, you could buy an underskirt and just wear an underskirt with it. I mean, I've not seen the dress, so I don't know how long it is. And then I said, or you could decide which pants you're going to wear and you could get an underskirt, and I could sew the underskirt to the elastic of the waistband of the pants. And I thought, do you know, that's actually quite a good idea. But she looked totally horrified. So if there's any seamstresses out there, what's the answer to that? What do you do? To me, I still think that's the best idea, because if you sew it to the dress, it's going to pucker the dress, isn't it? And it's not, plus it's very white and it's very see-through, so it must be quite thin fabric. Yeah, I think the knickers idea is the best idea. But anyway, I'll leave you with that thought, because I'm now over my 30 minutes again. And I keep forgetting to say, please, 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 will you subscribe? If you've not subscribed already, will you please subscribe for me? It doesn't cost you any money at all, no money. All you need to do is press the wee subscribe button underneath but you have to log into YouTube. So log into YouTube, press the subscribe, and then there's a wee bell. And if you click on that button and press all, that means every time you get Wendy's Wacky World coming on, it'll give you a notification, and then you can watch, because I do that with lots of people. I subscribe to everybody that I like. So if you like me, please subscribe, because my numbers are nearly at 700. It's exciting. And it's getting there. Anyway, please, if you can. Okay. Thank you all for watching. If anybody can come up with a good idea of the white dress and knickers and underskirt, please type it in and tell me. And other than that note, I will speak to you all next Wednesday, unless I do it before. Okay. Love you all. Bye. Thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.